we have Chris Ibbotson. Hey, Chris. John Sammers, Blue Wave Dave, Patrick Larson, Ken. Hey, Ken. Hey, Big Kid. Aren't we all big kids? Isn't that the thing about musicians? Jens Nielsen, Chappie, Sir Egbert, Adam, Christian. Oh, and my volume's turned up on my computer. Let's turn it down. AF, how are you? Who else do we have here? Frank. Hey, Frank. Hey, Peter Samuelson. Hey, Kyle. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Twin Spruce Studios. Hey, Shaylee. Hey, Michael Garding. Malimbo Limbo. Andy. Hey, Andy. TGIF, says Andy. John. How are you? Hey, Ed. Great stuff. Scott. Rodrigo. Based by Adam. Darren Ross. Hey, Darren. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Tom. Hey, Karen, my neighbor. Hey, Daryl. Hey, well, hello to everybody. Hey, so bunch of different things. It's Friday. And what we normally do for Academy members that are very aware is what we do is we listen to mixes in the Academy. But we're going to double whammy this. We're going to listen to mixes and discuss mixing. But we're also going to do a little Q&A as well. So we'll sort of, vary it up a bit. We'll do a Q&A, we'll listen to mixes, all kinds of stuff. Please, hit the like button, share, all those kinds of good things and let people know that we're here. That would be absolutely amazing. And, we'll probably do some giveaways. We'll do all kinds of fun things that we do. It's exciting. Rather lovely. Okay, so let's listen to some mixes, and we'll take some questions. I'm sure Eric will tell you one of his jokes. But the first mix we're going to listen to is by, is that, am I pronouncing this right? Erilyn Fun? Yes, Erilyn. Hey, Erilyn. And Erilyn says, hey, Warren and Plappers, Conditions. A great song of the Workday release. I like it. Here's my mix version. Hope you will also like it. Any feedback is welcome. So for those of you that aren't in the Academy, this is what we do. We listen to mixes and we discuss. If you look, for instance, say a mix here, lots of members of the Academy will get in and give advice. So let's check it out. Let's have a listen to. This was one from a few years ago. So I'm excited to hear. Here we go. Hope you're all well. Happy Friday.
You don't know me, you don't know me like I do, but I've been drifting for about a year or two under these conditions. Weary souls have torn up shoes from all the distance, and I need to prove that I am different. You don't know me, you don't know me like I do, but I'm still tracing every line that leads back to all of these conditions. A slightly twisted point of view, and I am different, but still no different. And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now, I can never change that these conditions are mine alone to claim. I don't know you, but still no different. And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now, I can never change that these conditions are mine alone to claim. It feels like no matter how far I run away, no matter how brand new I'm feeling today, all that's behind me, all the good and bad, adds up to define me, adds up to define me. And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now, I can never change that these conditions are mine alone to claim.
Well, firstly, thanks, Erilyn, for doing this song. I'm a huge fan of this song. It's interesting. I don't think David ever released it as a single. Can you believe it? Please do me a favor and hit that like button to let other people know we're on here. So for those of you who are just joining us, what we do is inside of the Produce Like a Pro Academy, every single week we listen to mixes. We add obviously new songs all of the time, but we listen to the mixes as I think what was it, 80 or something? There's like 80 multi-tracks in there coming on 100 multi-tracks. And people get in and they critique and they help each other out. And then we do this once a week where we listen and we kind of hang out and talk about it. Now, a lot of this mix is really fantastic. I'm on the fence with just the vocal sound maybe being just a bit low middly, just like a little thick down there, which seems to be maybe, Erilyn, maybe it's just a little tiny bit too much saturation in the low mids. It sounds a little thick down there. Let's sort of drop in and have a listen.
And I need to prove that I am different.
I will say the relationship between the kick and the bass guitar is absolutely superb. And it's something we find a lot, in mixing, is just getting that low end to work really, really well. So, and you really nailed this. It sounds fantastic.
And I need to prove that I am different.
So as Titus is saying, you feel that kind of low mid thickness in the vocal, and it just sounds a little fuzzy. Like, I like saturation on vocals. In fact, I use it a lot. I'll blend it in there subtly, but I think for me it's just a little too thick down there, a little bit too kind of fuzzy, especially, like I said, in the low end, the low mids. Let's keep listening.
And I wonder if you know it too, that we are different, but still no different. And I can't find one more deserving of all the blame. I know myself well, and everything points that way. And though I'm clean now, I can never change that these conditions are mine alone to claim. It feels like no matter how far.
So I think, the thing with David's voice is, he's born of that sort of period of almost like an emo singer, where everything's very perfect. It's all about pitch, very, but also doesn't really have a grit in his vocal. There's no in there. So one of the things is you've got to be careful on the low end and the low mids, because if it's too thick down there, it makes it feel a little bit too one-dimensional. But what's interesting, Erilyn, is I absolutely love what you've done with the instrumentation. The way that when the lead guitar comes out, da-wee-oh, bum, bum, part comes in, it just feels absolutely superb. I've always loved that part.
That these conditions are mine alone to claim.
I think more of the scene change in that section when it goes dum down, dum dum down, dum dum down, dum. Maybe just push those instruments up so we know that there's more of a moment. It's a little understated. I think it's just automating the volume up in that section.
Never change. That these conditions are mine alone to claim.
So we have the bass, we have an acoustic guitar, and we have a piano playing it. Let's see if we can get a dum down, dum dum down, dum dum down, dum. Let's see if we can just kind of like bring that movement up there, so it's just a little bit more exciting.
Never change. That these conditions are mine alone to claim. It feels like no matter how far I run away.
Yeah, it's really the low mid in the vocal for me. Feels like no matter. It's like it's sort of 300-400. I think you could go to about 150 quite naturally, even 200 on the vocal, and start high passing away. And then maybe apply more EQ to brighten the vocals. So it's even exaggerating that feeling of high passing. I mean, we all know high passing, low passing, boosting and cutting is really the same thing. If you think about it in terms of like, if you're cutting a big frequency and then boosting the volume of the EQ to combat the fact that the volume just dropped, you're turning up the EQ in the other places, We all know that, an understanding, especially in digital, like boosting and cutting in digital is essentially the same thing. Because once you get an imbalance in the volume and you've just cut a lot of frequencies, you reach for the gain control on the right-hand side or wherever it is on the plugin and turn it up, therefore turning up everything else that you've just cut. All the things that you didn't cut, sorry. So, I think in this instance, a little bit more judicious high passing on the vocal, a little bit more, maybe even a bit more air and high mids on the vocal just to make it bite just a little bit more so that you don't have to use volume. We talked about this last week, talking about, because somebody had mentioned how Andrew Sheps said, oh, you don't need to turn the guitar up, just, bring up the high mids on the guitar to make it bite. And I was like, yes, we talk about that every single week. Really, all you need to do is find the elements, the fundamental in your signal, and bring that up. And that is essentially turning up the instrument. Because if, in this instance here, if you reduce the low mids by boosting some of the high mids and increasing the high passing, you will effectively turn the vocal up without actually adjusting any volume whatsoever, because you're turning up the frequencies that will help it cut through the mix. It's a really good mix though. My only other thing, like I said, I think you got your low end great, your kick drum and your bass guitar relationship is perfect, but in that sort of like little scene change, that three feel, that 1 2 3 2 2 3 3 2 3, just bring up the instruments in there so there's more of a scene change. Other than that, superb. Work on the vocal, make that bridge section pop more, and I think we'll be in a great shape. So, wow. We're going to do some giveaways for people that are already members or would like to join. We're going to give away some memberships, and which will mean you can add a year to your membership if you're already a member. I'd love to know stuff, though. I'd love to know some stuff while we listen to this next one. What's your favorite vocal plugin? What's everyone's favorite vocal plugin here? Is there one plugin in particular that you absolutely can't live without when it comes to mixing vocals? And you know what? We'll give away a year's membership for this. What's the one plugin that you cannot live without on your vocals? What's your go-to one? Let us know. And Eric will obviously put we'll put a link to the Academy as well. So Ed Krause is next. Hey, Ed. Ed's a wonderful guy and incredibly talented. And it looks like Chris Ibbotson has got stuck in and given him some advice, and so has Bob Lowe. That's really wonderful. Ed said, here's my take on Sliding Doors with Caden Cashmere. I ended up rearranging it a bit. Not sure if this served the song or not, but personally, I like it. This turned out to be a difficult song for me to mix, in particular the low end. Getting it to not sound like mud and proved to be a challenge, but I mucked through and I believe I ended up with something that's a little rhythmic action to it at the bottom. Would like to know what others think. Do you still hear issues with the low end? Is there anything distracting or sticking out that I've missed? Thanks, Warren, and all the plappers that make this a wonderful place to learn. Thank you, Ed. It looks like Chris Ibbotson got stuck in, as we were saying, and also Bob Lowe. Wonderful. And here we go. Here is Sliding Doors, Caden Cashman's Sliding Doors. Well, Ed, what a really incredibly interesting arrangement. So for those of you who are Academy members or just know this song, This is we're very proud of this song. This was one that both Michelle Branch and did a version of, and Katy Perry had it on hold for an album. But the producer wanted to do it more of an EDM thing. But anyway, so yeah, great song. So very, and Chloe's got a version of this as well. What did Idaho Turtle say?
SF57.
The what?
57.
A 57.
Yeah, and then, or was that not the? That might not have been the right answer, but that's what it randomly landed on.
All right, it randomly landed on an SM57 for recording vocals. Okay, I did say mixing vocals, so we'll do another one. We'll do more giveaways. Okay. All right. So I really like it. Your question about the low end is very, very valid. I think when we did this, we've done this song before. One of the things, because when Mark Endert mixed it with the Chloe version of it, we did like this continuous pulsing kind of doom, 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 pulsing bass. And what he did is he actually chopped it up. So instead of like doing like whole notes, he made it hit in time with the kick and not sustain past it. So a quick listen. Sort of working there. I feel like I would try skinnying the bass, Ed, even slightly more, just a little tiny bit. It's pretty close, pretty darn close, pretty close. Now, maybe just skinny it down ever so slightly, just a little bit more on the high passing, maybe a bit more nose, a bit more 750, 850. Now, what's interesting is when the lead vocal comes in, because she goes, I mean, it's a high, was it C sharp? Yeah, built around a D, actually. So in my ear, that's high. I'm gonna get there with parts of my anatomy in a vice. Anyway, that's an incredibly high note. Now, what happens is the vocal actually sounds better in the choruses to me than it does in the verse, which is usually opposite of what happens. What usually happens is choruses come in, more instrumentation comes in, and the vocal tends to get sort of smothered. And most of the time we're talking about, hey, you're going to bring up the vocal, you need some kind of support, maybe a vocal thickening trick. Those are usually the things that happen in choruses. And we talk about maybe adding backgrounds and doubles, etc. In this instance, though, I actually find it's reverse. I feel like the chorus vocal works because she goes, ba, ba, ba. She hits a high note, it cuts through, and I don't see that much I want to do with it. I think we could argue about maybe a bit more backgrounds just to support it a little bit and make it a little bit more sing-along. But what I feel like is like a little bit similarly like I did on the last song. We've got the benefit of her going higher, so the low-end EQ actually helps support the high vocal. But like I did on the last song, let's listen to the verse vocal.
No one's ever.
It's a little bit, no one's ever.
No one's ever.
It's not terrible, but there's a bit of a 400 to 600. No one's ever. That you could pull out ever so lightly. What I would suggest, Ed, is maybe just separating the vocal into two tracks. So you have the verse vocal and the chorus vocal. Like all your settings and everything, just leave it as it is. That's your chorus vocal. Now duplicate the vocal track. And on the verse vocal, just cut a little bit of those low mids. If you got the fancy plugin, if you do happen to have Oak Sound Soothe 2, put it on there and just go into some of those low mids and that kind of mid area. It could be anywhere from literally 350 to 700 because it moves around as she sings in different notes. The frequency is going to move. It's not in one place. That's the beauty of dynamic EQs. That's the beauty of Soothe. So you could concentrate in that 350 to 700 area and just bring down about 3 dB worth of gain reduction in there and just see it move around in those low mids around here. And it will just pull them down just a bit. Just see if you can bring it down, like, say, 2 to 3 dB where it's moving around in there. But I don't think you need to do that for the lead in the chorus, because she's going up here, and actually probably that a little extra 350 to 700, which is painful, not painful, it's the wrong word, but is a little excessive in the verses, now in the chorus actually is a good thing because it supports the vocal because she's gone high. The last thing you want to do when you've got a high vocal is remove all your low mids and low end, because then suddenly it's going to be like so thin and weedy sounding. But I think in this, just go to that verse vocal in there, separate it out, put it onto its own track, and just use soothe in that area. This is one of the beauties of working in DAWs, working in the box now, is we can have different settings for different sections. Back in the ye olden days of not that long ago, but like 15 years ago, when I only mixed on a console, you'd have to separate out onto multiple tracks. And you would have like a verse vocal, a chorus vocal, and you'd have different EQ points. And if you wanted to do anything clever and subtle, it was really difficult. But now, of course, you could automate EQs. You could have soothe just turn on one channel if you like, just in the verses. If you want to keep it on one channel, just have the soothe cutting the low mids in that area, that 350 to 700 area, just lightly, dynamically working on that area, and then automate it off when the chorus comes in. It makes it so much easier. Oh, yes, thanks, everybody. 250 people watching. Thank you. Please hit that like button. Is Eric working out, or is it too small? What does that mean?
I don't know.
Was he working out, like muscles?
Is it showing?
Is it showing his muscles?
Wait.
There was a moment when you went to the gym for a while.
Yeah.
About 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the day, yep.
You know what happens.
Yep, I do. Which, speaking of which, we need to head out, send somebody out for some salads.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we're going to get into the next song. Like I said, skinny down the bass a little bit, Ed. Love the new arrangement on it. It's really creative. I do miss the old outro. The whoa. I think you could put the old outro, kind of background vocal back in. I still think that's one of my favorite parts of the song, Ed. Just do that at the end. Whoa, oh, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Just put those back in because it's really, really tasty way to get out. But otherwise, I think your arrangement's really, really cool. Having that verse vocal just be over the acoustics. So you got this.
No one's ever been able to stop me in my tracks before. Oh, there you are. You held my door. No one's ever been able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast, wild animal.
I hear you, Robuff. I am actually going to go to the gym. The gym? G-Y-M. The gym. No, I am actually going to go to the gymnasium. I'm going to go to the gym once we get back from Nashville. We're going to Nashville next week, so we might do some live stuff from Nashville for all you lovely people. We're going to work with the rather incredible Mr. Mark Martell. So we're going to work with him next week, and then he's coming to LA the following week. So maybe we'll do some live streams with Mark. What do you reckon? Does that sound like a good idea, everybody? And Mark obviously is insane, ridiculously talented, and a rather wonderful human being. And we're going to do some new songs together. Anyway, I think really try that trick, Ed, on the low mids. See if you can just get that vocal to just feel a little bit more airy above. Don't worry about the chorus vocal sound. I loved it. Bit more backgrounds. Skinny up the bass a little bit. Maybe just check the sustain of every low instrument. Instead of boom, just check it. You need to use, just a transient designer on them. And just nudge back the sustain a gnats just a little bit. And I think you have something perfect. All right, next up is Paolo Milani. And Paolo says, "Hail, I still have a bunch of older mixes I haven't done. So here is a brand new mix of this Little Empire song. For this one in particular, I explored the pop side of the production. I think this mix will sound different than others, or at least that is my intent. It gets very busy in the chorus, so I am a bit of in doubt as to whether to have enough level on audibility of the key elements or whether any of them is too weak. Well, we're going to find out. Very excited to hear it, Paolo. Here we go. Oh, and it's Too Bad. It's the track Too Bad. And here we go. Stay tuned. We're going to do another giveaway in a little bit. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, share, tell your friends, all that kind of good stuff. 250 people watching. See if we can get 250 likes. Thank you.
Our empire has crumbled and left me so sore to the touch. It hurts worse inside me. What happened to our paradise? Reinforced with promises, held strong by both of our dreams. How could we let our world come apart at the seams? We were a good one. Why did it have to fade? We were a good one. Why did it have to fade? It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. It's too bad that you're to blame for putting water to my flame. It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. She keeps you warm at night. Now you're not as cold as me. Tied up in knots with you, how I used to be. We were a good one. Why did it have to fade? It faded. We were a good one. Why did it have to fade? It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. It's too bad that love's a stain that only tears can wash away. It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. I like my dreams more than my life. Put me to sleep so I can't feel the fight. Stop, just breathe, let my mind release. Picturing you, then my shadow retreats. It's too bad how things change, how quickly beauty can decay. It's too bad that you're to blame for putting water to my flame. It's too bad how things change, how quickly beauty can decay. It's too bad that love's a stain that only tears can wash away. It's too bad. It's too bad. It's too bad.
Cool. I enjoyed this interpretation, Paolo. There's a lot of debate over pumping. I don't hear like pumping on the master bus. I don't think that. See, when people imply pumping, and I understand what you guys and girls are saying, I get it. I understand what you're saying. But what that usually is when you've got like an particularly excessive amount of low end. And what happens if you've got excessive amount of low end, people don't realize it, but that takes up so much energy that every time a low synth hits, say for instance, the threshold gets annihilated on the compressor. And so the high mid information seems to get quieter and pump. That's what I would consider to be pumping. I don't think this is pumping in that regards. Like if you ever listen to the lead vocal and the snare, for instance, in the chorus, it stays consistent. It doesn't turn up and down with the vocal. Have a listen.
It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay.
See, if that was pumping in a traditional sense, when his synths were going boom, 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 it's too bad. The vocal would go up and down in volume. So it's not that. So I think what it is it's a stylistic choice. I mean, Paolo's taking the synth information and the electric guitar information and making it go, which honestly was a little bit of my intention when I produced the track. So I do like what's going on here. Now, at the same time, it's a little, not a lot, but a little crowded in the sort of low mid area. It's a little bit crowded. Let's go back and listen to that with that. There's no pumping on the chorus, Tom. It's not pumping. It's the sound of the synths doing that. If you listen to the lead vocal, it stays at the same volume the whole time.
It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. It's too bad.
As Darren's saying, it's a pulse. Exactly. Good listening. I'm glad. Yeah, Darren and Shaylee are pointing out. So what it is, it's like it's that effect. It's like I suppose it's a stylistic thing. It's like what do you want? And this is one of the things for those of you that are new here. We talk about because there's a million different ways of mixing a song. Have you noticed? You've probably noticed if you're following the channel. In the last few weeks, we've been doing these like ultimate 7 mixing things, and we've been taking 7 different producers and 7 or mixers and 7 different songs, and showing that everybody sort of has a different way, sometimes of doing the same thing, and a different way, sometimes of doing something completely different. This is one of the things that's really great about having community like we have, is like everybody has a different thing. It's not semantics, Tom. It's completely different. If the track is pumping, then actually the whole thing drops in volume. This is so it does not actually pumping on the vocal. All right. So what we're talking about here is like getting this consistent movement going here. So I just think we'll get into like that low end and those low mids and just carve them out a little bit more for me, Paolo, because I think what might be nice is to have some of those high mids be part of the excitement. You know what I mean?
It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. It's too bad that you're to blame for putting water to my flame. It's too bad how things change quickly. Beauty can decay. She keeps you warm at night. Now you're not as cold as me.
And maybe somebody else was saying that there's quite a dramatic difference between the verses and the choruses sonically. So what I would probably do is like add a bit more high mid, like attack on the bass, maybe give it just a little bit of like aggression. So even though the bass is like simple in there, Paolo, just give me a little bit of high mids so that it doesn't, because it will still feel pretty, but it will just give me a little bit, or give us a little bit more aggression and excitement in the verses.
She keeps
Yeah, I agree. So Chris is saying a little bit more reverb on the snare would probably help the idea of that synth. I don't actually mind it. I think it would be just a little bit less in the lows and the low mids, and a tiny bit, and we're talking slightly, and a tiny bit more in the high mids, so it adds to the excitement. But I'm enjoying this, and again, it's stylistic. You know, I think a couple of the people that are more interested in, like, they have one idea of what they like music to be. This is going to not be something you like, but that's okay. You know, I've met people who don't like the Beatles. Hard to believe, but there are people that don't like the Beatles. And I met people that love EDM, but also like folk music. And I like people that like folk music that also love EDM, or vice versa, and blah, 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 blah. It's, you know, this is the wonderful thing about this community, you know, is like we can, with a couple of people's exceptions, we can have different, I'm just teasing, we can have our different ideas of what works. And I do think Paolo's done a very exciting thing here, which was close to what I wanted. Just maybe bring out some of the low and low mids so it doesn't give the illusion for those that can't hear it that it's not affecting the master bus. You know, I think just then it will just move a little bit more, and I like Chris's suggestion of a tiny bit more verb on the snare, because then there'll be the air around it.
It's too bad how things change, how quickly beauty can decay. It's too bad.
And I love the way you got the drums pumping there. It's a great mix. It's subtle things, and I think it will take it over the top. Wonderful work, Paolo. All right, let's move on. Let's do another one-year giveaway. We are at mix number 5 going to introduce Mr. Eric von Derrickson, who's sitting over there, working on his biceps, you know. And so we're going to introduce him over there, and he can tell a joke. So I'm going to give you like 2 songs to think of a joke.
All right, 2 songs.
Because he gives me my little break if I have to use the bathroom.
Intermission break.
Sorry, when I first moved to America, I would say, "Can I use the toilet?" And everyone's like, "Oh, that sounds so rude." So now it became the bathroom. All right, so next up is Hezzy. Hey, Hezzy. Hezzy says, "Hey, this is my mix for sliding doors. Most of my, I presume, probably means experiences in the past, was underground metal. Fantastic. I would like to know what you think." Amazing. Underground metal. Let's have a listen.
There you are, you held my door. No one's ever been able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast, a wild animal, and I'm the lion that you'd tamed. Now under your control, you're like the ghost that follows me wherever I go. You're the music burning down deep in my soul. You move me, then you leave.
It's interesting. I mean, a lot of it's really, really good. There's a big debate going on about a use of effects on vocals, and I'll agree that there is no one way. I will say, in my experience of working with my own mixes, but also working with Michael Brower and Mark Ender, Crystal Algae, Spike Stent, like all the biggest mixers, and having been in a room with them when they're working, sometimes the illusion of dry isn't really dry. So one of the tricks you can do is literally use a very, very short reverb, but very, very low behind the lead vocal. So it makes it feel like it's dry, but it actually isn't. So sometimes that juxtaposition between having something be reverberant and then being something dry when you're really trying to get something to sound close, is actually the difference between a low level short reverb and a loud bigger reverb. Now, in this instance, I do think it could benefit with a tiny amount of reverb, not because I don't want the vocal to sound dry. I like the idea of it being dry, but it needs just enough, like a tiny, tiny bit that nobody would even know that you've done, but just enough to connect it to the music. Because at the moment it doesn't, at times it feels like a stereo 2-track that somebody's singing over, which is very common these days, as I'm sure many of you know. There's lots of like beat makers, people building tracks and then having people sing over them, and then the difficulty is connecting those elements together, So I think I'm sort of like, I agree with both opinions on this. It doesn't need to be reverberant, and I also agree that it sounds too dry. I think there is a happy medium in there, Hezi, where you just bring in a little bit of a short verb, which, to be honest, is anywhere from 250 milliseconds to 3/4 of a second, depending on how loud you make it. Like, you could use 3/4 of a second, but use it so low that it just kind of adds a very, very light. And I do agree with the sentiments. There is no rules, as we talked about earlier. There is no like perfect snare sound. I don't like this kind of snare. We've had those comments where it's like, but that's not how it works. Sometimes a song might need a piccolo over metal guitars. Other times, in a Tom Petty song, it wants to be a big boothy kind of open thing. And in this instance, I think we have to think about it in these terms with the vocals. It's like, I don't think it makes sense to have, a vocal be dry, that it doesn't feel connected. But at the same time, I also agree that it doesn't have to be a big reverberant vocal. I think we just need to find that place where those two things connect. I want to have a quick listen now that we've talked about that, and just sort of this section here going in, and see what we can... what we feel about it.
There you are. Yeah.
Joey just said a really great quote. He goes, he asked me a question, but I would agree with his question, his statement, like, you can't hear the verb when it's on, but you can tell when it's off. Exactly. Like, you don't know it's there. You think you're listening to a dry vocal, and then you turn it off and you're like, oh, what happened? That doesn't sound as good anymore. That's a good metaphor for mixing. There's a lot of times, I remember watching early on when I first started doing this, there was a guy who I respect a lot who had a very vibrant recording and mixing channel, and talked about like making sure you could hear all of the instruments equally. And it was like, no, it's not. When you're a producer like myself and an engineer, you record instruments sometimes just to be supportive. So you might, Jack Douglas would do this all the time with some of those incredible guitar sounds. He'd get like a good rock guitar sound. Dave Jordan as well, multiple amps, but they weren't like 5 amps all turned up at the same volume. They were amps that were just adding in little things that he wanted to hear to add to the excitement. And other instruments, like, we've talked about a lot in the before, is putting like octave pianos behind chord movements on heavy. You don't hear a piano in there, but when you mute it, you're like, oh, there's some solidity in those guitars that's disappeared. And I think that's the sort of mentality that I like with mixing, is like finding things that support instruments,
There you are. You held my door. Now
See, it's quite, now that we've talked about it, how does everybody feel? I listened to that and I'm like, it's kind of tasty that it's dry, isn't it? It's like, so you imagine you just put like, and I'm going to do something really stupid here. This is really stupid. I'll say it again before somebody tells me that this is stupid. It is stupid. I'm actually going to put, just because, I'm going to put, I don't know what I'm going to use. Let's go. I'm just going to put a reverb on the whole thing, barely on the whole mix. Don't laugh at me, because it's a really stupid idea, I know. I'm going to take an R verb, and I'm going to make it, so like a third the size of what they started off with. You know what, I'll do this. I'll go and take a room and, you know, okay. And now I'm going to like have no effect and I'm going to bring it in ever so lightly. This is kind of a stupid idea, but it's not a million miles away from like Motown, like Phil Spector, where everything was being fed through reverb.
There you are, you held my door.
Okay, now I'm on like 15. This is on the whole mix. This sounds really stupid. It does sound stupid to think about, to talk about, but listen to the mix now with everything with just a little bit of verb on the whole mix.
There you are, you held my door. No one's ever.
Now I'm bringing it down. I'm going to bring it down to like under 10%.
There you are, you held my door. No one's ever been able to stop me in my tracks before.
But you see here, if you listen to this section here, the vocal sounds dry now, doesn't it?
Able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast, a wild animal, and all the lying that you'd send. Now on
See, Blue Baggins, love you, says it pulls it all together. It does, doesn't it? It makes the whole thing. And then somebody F was saying, you know, that Bob Katz was saying that he would sometimes sneak this in a mastering. Like, so we're on 9%. So 91% dry signal, 9%. And we can even shorten the time a little bit now. So it's going to be barely, we're going to go under a second.
able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast,
Going to lengthen it a little bit.
able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast,
Bypass.
able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast,
Back on the whole thing.
able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast, a wild animal.
Ridiculous, isn't it? How much? So it's interesting. This goes back to some of the earlier videos we did. We did one, I think, last year about this, about setting up a reverb that was for the whole mix and then feeding little things in it. I also think of Shelley Yakus, you know, the great Shelley Yakus, when he was talking to me about doing Damn the Torpedoes by Tom Petty, which of course has Refugee and Don't Do Me Like That. It's just a masterpiece of a record. And lots of other records that he made throughout his whole career, you know, Stevie Nicks, everything. All the players are in one room, including doing vocals. And what he would do is he would just baffle off the drums enough. He would work with the musicians to not overplay, and he wouldn't use headphones. They were all playing at a level that they could hear each other. And so there's a little bit of bleed, not a lot, because they're all playing within themselves, and there's a good amount of baffling, but there's a little bit of bleed in every single mic. And so all the musicians spread around the room so they can all see each other playing together, gives you a kind of an ambience that we're sort of adding back in here, a glue, as it were, that just makes it feel like, oh, wow, that's a band in a room playing. It's a really, really good thing. So don't be afraid to do these kinds of things. I mean, I think this is a video, you know, that we should do the 5 things people tell you not to do that you can do. There you go. Can we do that for next week? 5 things that people tell you you can't do that you can actually do. And this is a big one of them. You know what I mean? It's And the good thing about Hezzy's mix is it's pretty balanced. I think Hezzy need to get in there and just maybe skinny up a little bit of the low end stuff there, just a tiny bit more. But in general, I like what you're doing here. I really do. Absolutely superb. It was a good mix. It just needed a little bit of the gluiness together, and wonderful stuff. All right, we're going to do one more, and then, well, why don't we do a giveaway? Okay. Let's do a giveaway. Oh, it's definitely of the period. I mean, it's what happened with somebody was talking about Brian Wilson. It's of the period. All the Stax stuff, the Atlantic stuff, Motown stuff was all recorded together. Now, obviously, a lot of the times they would use a DI, through a console for the bass, for instance. So actually, the bass player may not have been hearing other people, or they may not have been hearing them. There was all kinds of strange things. But essentially, every record I made and still continue to make, I like the musicians to play off each other. I really do. All the phrase stuff was tracked live, and then fixes and overdubs. But the bass and the drums were done at the same time. The bass, the drums, the rhythm guitars were done at the same time. Sometimes the bass, the drums, the rhythm guitars, and the piano were all captured at once. It's super, super important if you want it to feel like musicians playing off each other. They actually do have to play off each other. All right, so what do? We asked about plugins, vote what's the most important thing, and we ended up, Eric, choosing a microphone.
Oh, which he did explain. He said because he does very little processing.
Okay, yeah.
He prefers to just record it with the S57 and.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, so yeah. So I think what do we need to know? Well, we've sort of covered a mic and we covered plugins. Let's do. Hey, I want to do something. Do you? Because we were talking about drums and stuff, and we're talking about snare drums and things like that. What do many of you record live drums? Or are you doing programmed? Are you? Do you have experience recording live drums? I suppose just like so. Yeah. Do you record live drums? If so, what live drums? Do you record them? Or are you only using programmed? And there's no right answer here, remember? And I'd like a little bit of information. If you do record your own live, what do you win? It's picked at random by Derek Von Erickson over there. And tell us a little bit about it. Do you have your own studio? I record live drums in my own studio. I hire a studio to record live drums. And Shaylee wants a drum date with Eric. There you go. All right, let's go to F. And you're going to win a year's membership to the Academy. If you're already a member, you'll get an extra year. If you're a lifetime member, you can get any ProMix Academy courses you want. All right. S says, I mixed this song before, but wanted to give it another go, as I felt it could use some improvement. It's my opinion one of the coziest tracks with such a beautiful vocal, makes it worth the extra effort. I started from the ground up and changed the drums, keys, reamped the electric and bass. The mix itself is rather simple with every move serving a purpose. I hope you enjoy it, and I'd like to thank you for listening. Marvelous. Here we go.
Never thought it would hurt this much. I'm living another kind of pain. From the moment I left, I knew it'd be hard. But I lost something along the way. Every day I shed a tear. I have too many scars. Closing doors, forgetting dreams that I once had in my heart. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't somebody to hold you close. Nobody can understand. They can see my darkness. Sometimes I wish I could go back. Would that even make a difference? It's only me and myself fighting to stay, looking for somebody else, trying to live another day. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Closing my eyes whenever I can. I'm dreaming to see you once again. Closing my eyes whenever I can. I'm dreaming to see you once again. Cold days are harder when you don't have someone to hold. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close.
Some wonderful commentary going on here. Now, I was just saying to Eric, wait, were these drums added? Because I don't remember the drums on them. So a couple of things. Toms. A couple of people mentioned this, and I totally agree. I think a little bit of low mid cut, 350, 400 area. Just pull out a little bit more. You know, you're probably already doing that, but a little bit more with a tiny bit more sort of 80 to 100 boost, just to give a bit more body. So when you're hitting, it's doom and less flop, flop, flop. Yeah, it's just a little bit more body going around on those toms. I just want to listen to this one more section.
Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close.
Interesting, Pete. I love that, Peter. I love that the snare that feels like late and gives it just a kind of an ease one, especially on that 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bar. Yeah, I'm so used to, listening to classic music where that was always, the snare was always like that far behind. That really makes it feel good. And now I think we're sort of bombarded with everything being gridded and perfect that we forget. It's interesting. Depends on where my head's at. If I'm listening to a lot of modern stuff, I'll go back to Sir Bonham and stuff like that and be like, whoa, I can feel how lazy and how late that is. But then after about 2 songs of Zeppelin, for instance, I go back to modern music and I just like, oh, where's the groove? Where's the feel? So it's kind of one of those things. I was really digging the feeling of the drums on here personally.
Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold.
Oh, congratulations, Russell. Is Russell going to be a new member joining us? Fantastic. That would be great. We love having people in here. It's a really incredibly supportive community, as you can tell. On the whole, I really like it. Somebody said they thought the bass was low. I'm getting a lot of bass, not too much.
It's only me and
Did you really do Friday on purpose?
I did.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Von Gonzalez, Friday. Friday.
It's only me and myself fighting to stay, looking for somebody else, trying to live another day. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to.
So maybe to the person's point about the bass volume, I think the low end on the bass is perfectly positioned. I really, really like where it's at. Maybe what they want to hear is a little bit more like 750, 1K, 1.5, just a little bit of nose just to make it sit up. But the low end on the bass feels perfect to me. So if you want that to be, if you want to hear a bit more of the bass, I think a bit more of the articulation would be great.
It's only me and my.
Karen says she feels the bass is a nice warm tone, almost a stand-up feel, seems appropriate for the song.
It's only me and myself fighting to stay, looking for somebody else, trying to live another day. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close.
Who's making a comment? So the Robert, the drums came after the bass. There was no drums. So what's happened is the drums have been added because it had the bass was filling in and creating the movement. So that's why you could obviously re-track. Okay, Eric, do you want me to do this for you?
Yes. Yep. I want
Okay, so
Another day. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you close, somebody to hold you close.
Aaron Payne says, happy Friday, you're all. Thanks, Warren and Eric. Best channel on YouTube, gotta run. Thank you ever so much, Aaron. I really appreciate it.
Another day. Cold days are harder when you don't have somebody to hold you.
Shaylee says back, it wasn't that hot. So anyway, yeah, I think as somebody's pointing out, a little bit of extra oomph on the kick. Just a little bit, let's do our little trick here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to some slate here and get the Infinity EQ, which we've been enjoying. For the longest time, Slate didn't have a really finite tool for examining, for getting in and doing stuff. And I'm really glad they finally made this. Going to narrow the...
Closing my eyes whenever I can.
So it's an interesting thing. So what we've got is we've got almost equal amounts of like 60 hertz in the bass that we do in the kick, which is okay. But if you're going to think that way, you really need to kind of bring in a little bit of 40. You know, we've talked about it a lot, but I'll mention it again. We have a subharmonic synthesizer, and what we do is we have it at about 36 hertz, which is about as close to 40 as you can get. You know, the control's about, you know, a quarter of a millimeter, and it's either too far or too less. So at about 40 hertz, just a little bit of subbiness on the kick drum. So what I often suggest is you go to 60 hertz or 50 hertz, depending on your preference. And the reason why I say those two things is because if you grew up on Neves, it was 60 hertz. If you grew up on APIs, it was 50. Those were the fixed EQ points. So you can boost it. However, remember, if you're going to boost at 50 or 60 hertz, be careful in the 80 to 100 area. You don't want to bring too much of that up. So it's because then you're going to smother the sort of fundamental warmth of the bass guitar. So what I tend to do is boost that 60 here, and I bring up this 40 here with it naturally. But in this 80 to 100 area there, I might do actually a little cut. So it doesn't exaggerate it, not remove it, but just do it so I can boost the frequencies I really want to hear. And I think a little bit of that would really, really help. Yeah. And if you want to download these tracks, and we should make sure, I always ask, because whenever you've done overdubs, anybody's done overdubs, please make them available. Send them to Eric, and he can put them up in the multi-tracks, and then other people can mix your incredible overdubs. I am going to use the bathroom. We're halfway through here. Can you believe it? We've been going an hour and 15 minutes, and we're only halfway through. This is what happens. So, yep. Here he comes, Eric von Derrickson. Introduce yourself, joke teller extraordinaire.
The only reason I'm here is to tell the jokes, guys. How goes it, everyone? Hello. If you don't know who I am Eric. I am the guy that sits over there. Yeah, that place. And tries to get the bots when I can, but sometimes I'm typing something and I'm not paying attention and they get through. There was one time when there was just like 20 bots, I swear, like 20 different accounts, and they were just going crazy in the chat, and it was like insanity. It was actually pretty funny though. And Warren was like freaking out. He was like, Eric, do something. And I'm like, I'm trying. There's so many of them. Like, they just keep coming. But yeah, no jokes. Am I the joke? Oh my God. How sad. Yeah. I mean, I can tell you guys a joke if you really want. I do have a few, like 4 or 5 more that are still, you know, in my back pocket. There will be a lot of shrugs and a lot of groans, but, you know, how am I doing? I'm doing great. Gonna have a full day of work here, but good work. Go home, relax, maybe have a drink or two, not work tomorrow, and then Sunday we're going to Nashville. So I'm excited for Nashville, but not for the flight. As some of you know, I hate flying. I am terrified of heights, but I love sitting by the window because, I mean, it's freaking beautiful. Like, and it's so cool. It really is cool. Like, seeing yourself, like, just fly up, like, leaving the ground and just seeing everything just turn into, like, little ants. No groaners. I can't promise that. The Terminator Killer G. So yeah, I kind of have to, when I fly, I tend to have Jack and Coke pretty much. And that would probably be my drink of choice, Jack and Coke. Well, whiskey and Coke or Dr. Pepper or whatever. Gotta have a little, you know, something to help with the fears and the constant thoughts of being in the sky in a tube, flying, like, really high. This is a terrible joke. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Am I old enough to drink? I am 27. I have been enjoying drinks for the past 7 years. And actually, also speaking of 7, next month will be my 7th year with Warren, which means he has to treat me to steak and lobster. Right? All right, I'll give you guys the joke. I just got to find my notes. And I hope I have a decent one for you guys. I think. All right. What's a golf club's favorite type of music? This is going to be bad. What's a golf club's favorite type of music? Yeah, that's the thing. Safer than car rides. So, oh my God, don't say that. 27, be careful. Oh my God. I'm going to join the club? No, wait, I'm not even going to say that. I take that back. Oh, F. I may have partaken before being the legal age to drink. As, you know, as we tend to do. I've been drinking for 27 years. Still a pup? I don't know. Yes, David, swing. What's a golf club's favorite type of music? Swing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Whoops, I played music. Don't be superstitious. Tell stories about my graduation. Like school graduation? Boring. I was happy to get out of there. I wasn't one of the people that tosses the hats in the air like you see in movies. And it did happen, but I got to decorate it, so I was like, no, I'm gonna keep it. And I still have it. Groan. There's the groan. Weaned off the bottle with wine. Wine is delicious, although I have to learn a lot about wine. I really actually want to get into wine in the sense of like I want to enjoy it, like you know how they say with this type of meat have this kind of wine and they just like mix well together, or like cheese, wine with cheese, like obviously I'm sure there's more to it than just the cheese and wine, but yeah, I like to get into that stuff. And then I'm probably gonna sound like an alcoholic. Like with whiskeys and liquors, like I'm trying to, people can get into the differences of flavors and like get really into there. And I'm like, hey, why not? If I'm gonna drink it, might as well know what I'm drinking and be able to experience it in a higher way, I guess. Red or whites? Red wine, I think red. Although I haven't had enough white. And I've definitely had a bunch of wine that tastes like soda. You know, the ones that just kind of taste like all sugar and is delicious. Wine and cheese is pretty good. Graduation from... What about the graduation from the Warren Academy? Oh, I'm sitting in this chair now. Yes. Although... I guess this has become my chair because this is when I work, this is literally where I sit. Like this is where I work. I put my computer right here on the console, the producer's desk part of it, and I just edit videos. And then of course when we have artists and stuff, I'm right here like pretending like I know how to do stuff because I still make tons of mistakes. Mixing recently, we haven't done mixing in a while. At least not that much during the during the pandemic and everything. But we're going to Nashville to do some stuff, and then when we get back, we'll be at Sunset Sound. Then we'll be back here doing some vocals. I don't know if Warren wants to tell you guys himself or if I can say anything really. So I can't really say much, but or at least I don't want to say anything and then spoil surprises. But yeah, we're getting back into into some fun stuff, and then we just booked someone else to do 3 songs. Yeah, it's starting to come around. I'm excited. I'm really excited. Yes, Melissa, please. Excess wine collection, I will take it all. When Warren and his wife, when Warren goes like family vacation, his wife goes out and gets me like a little like a souvenir from when they come back, and typically it's a small little bottle of vodka from that area. So like they went to Greece and they brought me Greece vodka, and it's awesome, and I'm starting to kind of like build up a little collection. So I don't open them because I don't want to, because it's like it's so cool.
You're collecting things but not opening them?
Talking about the my little growing collection of vodkas and stuff.
Oh, from us buying you vodkas from all over the world?
Yeah.
You talking about your alcoholism again?
It always ends up there.
Did we bring you something back from China? Did you get alcohol from China?
What I got something. I forgot what I got. It wasn't alcohol.
Okay, we're big, we're bad, and we're back. Did you enjoy the Eric break?
It was fun.
The Eric break.
Melissa says she has 80 bottles of wine, and she's gonna hook it up when we go visit.
Wow. Wow. What was the joke?
Oh. It is. One sec. What's a golf club's favorite type of music?
Goth club's favorite time. Oh my god. Goth.
Close. Swing.
Swing.
Swing. You know, golf club. Swing.
Oh, a golf. I
Golf.
thought you said goth.
Oh no, golf.
Oh,
Oh no, I ruined it.
I thought he said goth. I didn't hear the L. Golf.
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 Yeah, it's playing golf. You don't
Oh, wow,
play
I really
golf.
Don't say the L when I say it. Golf. Golf.
Does anybody? Did? Oh well. Maybe nobody understood your joke. That was the reason why they didn't get it.
That's just.
Erock Gonzalez. Shaylee is talking about your muscles again. Kif says that joke was above par, not below. Oh, apparently above par. Ooh, Kif. Swing. Karen says she needs to visit Melissa. It sounds like Melissa's popularity, already popular in our academy, has grown vastly with her admission that she has hundreds of bottles of wine. It's like, all right, lovely people. Why don't we get stuck into a new mix? We're halfway through. We've been going an hour and a half. This is what happens. We go for a long time. And what else can we say? Oh, let's do another giveaway. We have newer members. And hey, Ron, how are you, my friend? I was talking to Ron just a couple of hours ago. And we'll do another giveaway. So Rafal is up next. You know, what's the giveaway? What do I want to know? We talked about live drums, whether you record them or not. What about, I've asked this before, but I want to know, how do you monitor goth swing? Yes. How do you monitor? Are you using headphones or are you using speakers? And if you use either headphones or speakers, what are they? This will give you a year free membership to the Academy. Yeah. What are they? What is your preferred way or your only way or the method that you monitor? I mean, it could be earbuds. It could be expensive headphones. It could be cheap headphones. It could be expensive speakers. It could be cheap speakers. It could be anything. Let us know. And there's no wrong answer. And you'll be picked at random. Okay, so Rafal is up next. And let's see. Rafal says, hi, everyone. This is my first time to submit anything here. Fantastic. I hope to hear some constructive criticism. But for real, I don't need any indulgence, only hard truths. I started mixing a few years ago. It's not fully commercial yet. I work from my home studio. Oh, Rafal is in In Poland. Where in Poland? My wife is Polish. Where are you from? Oh, wow, Rafael. Russell Cameron Thomas. Hey, Russell. Is giving a bunch of very detailed stuff. Wonderful. Very nice indeed. Okay, here we go. Here's Rafael.
I was lost, couldn't find my way home. I was tired, my mind wouldn't leave me alone. I was blind, didn't know how far I could fall. If this is love, then I want it all. I never thought I would be caught by love so helplessly again. And I can't see a reason why for routine under falling skies again. I was sick, I felt that pain in my heart. I would lie in bed at night and dream of you tearing me apart. I never thought that I would be caught by love so helplessly again. And I can't see a reason why for routine under falling skies again. I never thought that I would be caught by love so helplessly again. I can't see a reason why for routine under falling skies again. I never thought that I would be caught by love so helplessly again. I can't see a reason why for routine under falling skies again.
It's a really good mix. It just needs some sort of subtlety and stuff like that. It feels like the drums get to one level and stay there the whole time, and then everything kind of sucks in around it. So I definitely want to hear more. How can I say? I want to hear more dynamics in the drums. So, like for instance, if you just kind of listen to drums, say here.
I never thought I would be.
Like I'm hearing the low end on the kick fairly nicely, Could be a little bit more, but Karen says it sounds so analog, which I agree. So just to reiterate, this was recorded live entirely, including the lead vocal. Everything, we were talking earlier. So every single instrument here. The only thing that's been added is a guitar overdub by who did the guitar overdub? I'm completely blanking. Pete's saying a little bit more, a bit more room. I think you could definitely bring up the room ambience a little bit. I think that would help. But I'm going to go back a little bit. Have a listen to the kick drum here.
This love, I want it all.
It's tasty. The kick drum is tasty, but it's on the verge. Sometimes when the bass plays, and particularly the piano as well, because the piano feels like it could be a little wider. I mean, I did double mic that. I think with a pair of, I threw some money at that, didn't I? Like a pair of 47s. Do you remember? Was not, and some other, but anyway, yeah, and it was first take, as Andre was saying. It was like a first run through. Oh. Listening to myself talking, painful. Anyway, so to cut a long story short, the kick is working okay for a time being, but once the band gets bigger and fuller, all the low end just seems to mush into the piano. The piano feels a little mono to me, a little low endy to me. I think you're going to have to high pass the piano just a little bit more, because I don't want it to be really thin, don't get me wrong, but you've got kick drum, bass guitar, and piano. There's only 3 instruments down there, but the low end's not defined. So, that, you know what I mean? That shouldn't be what we're dealing with. Now, I know it's more of it's a smaller kit. It's piano driven. The bass has got a lot of room and freedom to roam around. But I think you just need to give us a little bit more of that kind of subbiness on the kick. So again, boost the 60, pull down, make sure you don't exaggerate the 80 to 100 for the bass, but you want to get a little bit of 40 in there, naturally coming up alongside of the boost on the 60 hertz on the kick. Piano, just increase the high passing a little bit, so it's just a little less thick, but it doesn't have to be thin. Don't get me wrong. I don't need you to go to like 300 and take out the low end. I just think get up to about 150 and do a very, very gentle slope at about 150. So there's still going to be 80 and 100 in there. There's still going to be 60 and 40 in there. So the areas where the bass guitar and the kick live, there's still going to be in there with the piano, just a little less. And then also just, it feels a little mono on the piano so that it makes the middle, and it's got a lot to do with the low end on the piano, because low end, of course, will always come out sounding mono. So you may be panning a little harder than I'm hearing, but it just might be that excessive low end. It's amazing. I paid to have it tuned. And it that knows how to tune. Yeah, as Real Raven's saying, if you high pass, keep the slope at 6 dB. Yeah, just do a gentle slope. But Karen, and I agree with Karen, Karen says, I love how organic and warm this mix sounds, not offending my ears. So everything we're talking about here is subtlety. It's about readdressing the low end. It's about taking a little bit of a little tiny bit extra, tiny amount extra out, a low end out of the piano, adding a little bit on the kick drum so that it doesn't disappear. But I think the other thing as well for me is like when you get to the end here in a song, it just all blurs together. Have a listen. PG says they tuned 87 of the keys. I love the snare there. I love that kind of like little kind of. I hear the kit, and I think we used a really super cheap snare that Blair had that he absolutely loves. It's just a note, Don, on the piano that's a little bit out. Yeah, Peter's reiterating what we're talking about. There's just a little bit of build-up. And I think if you can just clarify the low end a little bit, it won't sound so mushed together. It is an interesting one, though. We've got a little bit of those fishtails going on. And I feel like, have a listen here.
I was sick.
Love the verb on the vocal, by the way. Very nice.
I was sick. I felt that pain in my heart.
Oh, yeah, Petey, that's a live, off-the-floor, first-take vocal.
I was sick. I felt that pain in my heart. I would lie in bed at night and dream of you tearing me apart.
I'm just amazed that Blair Sinter played that groove and that feel on the first take. I mean, most drummers I work with, you build up to that groove and feel. You don't get it the first take.
I was sick.
Peter says the guitar is a PRS into a Fender Champ Tweed. Oh, very nice. Some of my favorite things.
I was sick. I felt that pain in my heart. I would lie in bed at night and dream of you tearing me apart.
Okay, Ed, Fishtails. So Fishtails is a mastering engineer term. So what it is it's where they've got a mix and they're seeing this. Like, so what it means is like they're seeing these transients poke their heads out. They call it fishtailing. So they get like this thing where it's like, can you pass me a pen and paper? Is that going to be a real pain? Like a classic fishtailed mix that a mastering engineer has to deal with will be a big blob of information. So let's make a joke here, but be honest about it. Look, so there's your big blob of information that, you know, mastering engineers normally get to deal with, yeah? And so just a big blob of stuff. Well, fishtailing is when they get the first time I heard it was Stephen Markison. That's fishtailing. You see that? So what it is it's like a blob of information, but these like little like fishtails. You see them coming up, sticking over? And what they want to see and hear, most importantly, but I'm just using an illustration, but what they want to hear is like those transients controlled. That's where using limiters can be really useful, but also using saturation. So you take the initial transient that's really spiky. So does that make sense, everybody? I'll show it one more time. That's fishtailing. So when you end up with a mix and you just see like maybe a big blob of information, but then these like little, and when you're mixing, sometimes your ears fool yourself, and you like hearing that pap, 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 pap. But when that pap, pap, pap is sitting above everything else, and you listen at low volume, and this is the best way to check, listen at low volume.
They might want to see it again because they were saying it's a little small.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen to it. Everybody try this. Turn it down super, super low to a point where it's barely audible and tell me what you can hear.
Dream
They're saying there's no sound. They can't hear me anymore. What did you hit? Muted, no sound. What did you hit?
We got sound now. It must have been.
No, it says no sound, no sound, no sound, no
It must have
sound, no
been
sound.
the
Sound died.
The switch of the scene. I probably didn't have. audio
Muted,
for
the
that.
sound, no sound. Are
We've
you
got it
sure?
now.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I hear it. I hear it.
Audio is dead.
Yeah. I think what it was when we switched it, the audio didn't follow. I must not have that set up.
Now we're back.
Oh,
Okay,
we're
cool.
We're back.
Okay. People are still saying no audio though.
They can be more delayed.
Some people saying is like no sound and also saying, okay, it's fixed. So you saw what I was showing. So what that is like there's a blob of information, like usually quite compressed. People go in, they compress instruments and stuff like that, but they get excited by hearing this kind of pap, pap, pap sound. And the problem with that is, with that fast stuff, is it's exciting when you're listening at high volumes. But what I was saying to do was, what we're going to do is we're going to go and I'm going to play this section back here. And I'd like you all to turn your headphones down or your speakers down really, really quiet. I'm doing it now as we speak. And the problem is you're going to hear pap, 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 pap. You're not going to hear my... Now, don't get me wrong, this isn't a million miles away, but if you brought it down, you'll notice you heard like the left-hand guitar, which is a little spiky. You hear a little bit of the body of the piano, but you also hear this pap, 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 pap. You know, you hear like this little kind of papping sound going on, which is fine. Don't get me wrong, but it can be distracting at low volumes. It's a little bit like, I'm super sensitive to like 7K-ish kind of shakers and things like that. They really drive me nuts. If there's like a thin, like I'm not a fan of egg shakers at all. He'll tell you, whenever I record shaker, I always take the half pipe and I like the I hate tambourines that are like metal, like the drummer tambourines, you know, the plastic half moons with a that just have like a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 high end to them. Doesn't make any sense to me. Beatles tambourines, classic Motown tambourines had heads on them. They were usually those little Ludwigs, and they kind of got the and they're thick and they fill up a track and they create movement. The really high little, you know, I know drummers, a lot of drummers like them, like the really thin sounding stuff. To me, that doesn't make sense. And maybe as you get older, it's okay because you lose that super high frequency hearing. But 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, up to 15, 16K, I don't want it to be dominated by little short things. Do you know what I mean? You don't want it to be dominated by transients that last a nanosecond because it's distracting. Because if you're hearing the high frequencies, a little bit up there is always going to be great. But for me, that 7 and above area needs to sort of be the ambience of the drums, the vocal ambience, the air around things, 7 to 20K. It needs to be more that. The mid-range frequencies is where all your main information is, of course. You know, the voice is super important between 3 to 5K, snare drums, you know, guitars. We love that detail in that area. But when you start getting super high, you know, between like, I suppose 7 and 20, you don't want it to be very short, transient stuff, at least not highly repetitive, because it really drives you crazy, because it just starts being this kind of stuff. So, you know, so I don't know, somebody's posting something. So basically, what I would do is probably, Raphael, is like we're saying, put a little bit more low lows on it, but in your snare and your kick, once you put a bit more low lows, you could put the tiniest amount of saturation on there. Just wipe off that little bit of that fishtail so that this, you know, this thing, this poking out thing, as in the word drawing, that poking out thing just gets rounded off. The transient gets rounded off. And actually what will happen is it will get thicker sounding, because you'll actually get more snare out of it, more kick drum out of it, but that initial snappiness will be ducked into it. But trust me, you'll actually get more perceived volume because you get more body in there and less of just the initial transient. That's something we all battle with. When I first started mixing, I battled with it a lot, and I used to use a lot of limiting to control those transients. Now I find that I'm using things that saturate a bit, plugins that have like tape emulation or tubes or transformers that soak up, those initial transients. Marvelous. It's a great mix though. Give us some more low-lows on the kick. Control those transients on the drums. Make that piano feel like it's not completely centered. High pass it a little bit more aggressively so it doesn't smother the center, particularly with the low end. And I think you'll have something really special. I mean, it's not a million miles away. Great work. All right, talking of the great Mr. Peter Samuelson, he's up next. Hey, Peter. Peter is a bit of a mind reader. Sometimes he beats me to anything I'm going to say. Especially if he's doing stuff in real time and I'm listening, he'll say something and I'm like, he beat me to it. I was going to remark on that as well. So needless to say, Peter's very talented. There's a lot of incredibly talented people in here, don't get me wrong. And Peter is one of those incredibly talented people. Peter says, here's my production of circles. Great. I started with a patch I found in the Arturio pigments to get the feel of the song. Then I added the Mini Moog bass with the Mini Moog Luna instrument. Piano parts from the Contact Una Corda and some basic groove. I then started to record the different orchestral parts from the Spitfire BBC Orchestra, and then added the parts that are samples from the Lin 60 drum machine and some percussive parts from Contact Factory Library Orchestral. Produced and mixed in UAD Luna using the API console emulation and API summing. Wonderful. I'm excited to hear. Here we go. Peter Samuelson with the Workday releases Circles.
I know it's over, it was over from the start. But hope set us on fire, and we fell like lovers do. I'm moving forward, it's hard not glancing back. Thinking what could happen if I had a second chance. Would we get it right? Find a way to look past the obvious and see the good. I tell myself at night there's no way it could be fixed, but I can't help but wonder, am I wrong? Oh yeah, what a shame. We threw it all away. The best of us was ruined by the bad. Oh yeah, what a shame. We never could have known that you and I'd be better on our own. This is the last time my heart sings of you, or so I am convinced, until I hear the blues. Would we get it right if just for once we learned to put aside all the bitterness and fight for every cent of sweet and fleeting light? I can't help but wonder, am I wrong? Oh yeah, what a shame. We threw it all away. The best advice was ruined by the bad. Oh yeah, what a shame. We never could have known that you and I would be better on our own.
Firstly, it's just absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous production. Strings, phenomenal. I mean, you've turned David into a Bond movie, singer. Absolutely amazing. I will agree on the drums. Right when they came in, I like the part a lot. I just, the part's fantastic. I just would change it up. There's a couple people made a comment about the sound of the drums. I feel like the part is really, really good, but I feel like it needs that sort of massive attack way of doing it. Like I wish it sounded like it was lifted, using an Akai sampler or something like 8 or 4-bit. That would be my suggestion, Peter. Go back to the drum sound. You don't have to do this, but this is what I would do. Go back to the drum sound and, maybe use like a bit crusher and make it just like, just make it a bit more wrong. Because you're in a place for me where it's either got to be super organic and like really obviously organic and orchestral, and maybe it's timpani, either that or you go full blown wrong and electronic but trashed out, sampled off a record, something like that. Portishead, Massive Attack. For me, it's got to do one of the extremes. Your string orchestration is phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. But one of the things that I have been guilty of myself many, many times in the past when I go back to some of my productions, it's not committing. It's not committing to a really cool, angular, edgy idea that always sounds modern and interesting and playing it a little bit safe. And Peter, you're an insanely talented person. Like I say, you've got golden ears. You always hear things like I do, and I'm always like, you said it first, and if I ever got stuck, I'd probably just look at your comment and agree. So we know you're superbly talented, but I think you should take that drum part and make it sound like it's Portishead or Massive Attack. Something that sounds more, I would wrongify it. There you go. That's what I should have just said. I would take the drums and wrongify them. Because somebody else was saying it sounds a little electronic against the strings, and I agree, but I just don't think it sounds electronic enough to be hip and edgy. So that's what I would do. Personally, I would bit crush it. I would make it sound like, I guess, once again, stolen from a record or sampled into an Akai and then trashed out, sorry. Or, as somebody else suggested, go full organic. But I wouldn't do that. I think your strings are full organic. I think the part that you did is phenomenal. And, if David heard that, he should be really, really flattered the amount of work that you've done on it. Absolutely superb. Superb. Yeah, great work. Wow. That's so much fun to have to listen to that and realize just how much stupidly talented people there are in here. Really, really good. All right. Next up, Peter. Hats off to you. Where's my hat? My cricket cap's over there. And that's where's my test match cricket hat?
In the house.
What? What? All right. Last but no means least, we have actually 3 more people to come. We have Matthew, and let's open up. And Matthew says, here's my mix of Todd Kessler's Old Fashioned Way. It's my 4th mix here. I chose this one because I like the song and Todd Kessler's soft voice. I've tried not to overproduce it. I spend a fair bit of time on noise reduction, especially on electric guitar, but I'm not satisfied with it. What would you do in this case? Thanks in advance for your feedback. Okay. And we had, we already had, was that Thomas getting in there and helping out? Fantastic. Here we go. Old fashioned way.
Jagged metronome of typewriter keys. A simple thought brings you to me, and I'm thankful every day. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. In a time when we want it all, everything so fast. Read a text, no time to call. To slow down, oh, I pray. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. I'll write to you with ink from a pen. Feel the weight as the words sink in. My mind moves too fast for my hand. I need to tell you this while I still can. It was so dark that warm summer night. I much prefer it to the bright blue light. And I feel the need to say, I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. I'll write to you with ink from a pen. Feel the weight as the words sink in. My mind moves too fast for my hand. I need to tell you this while I still can. Jagged metronome of typewriter keys. Another page done, my soul at ease. And I'm thankful every day. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way.
This is a really superb mix, and one of the best mixes of this song. This song is really well recorded, and I wouldn't say it's easy to mix though. I've heard some great mixes of it. A couple of people commented on this. There's a little build up in the sort of low mids area. You could say anywhere from about 150 to about 350, depending on. And I think what it is with the finger picked, when you've got an acoustic guitar and you're picking with the fingers, you probably all know this, when you're playing lightly, same could be said for bass guitar. It's a technique I teach and I show all the time when you're playing bass guitar. If you play it softly, the bass rings more. It has more low end. When you play it hard, it frets out. It tends to go da 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 da. Great for aggressiveness, not very good for low end. Now with the acoustic guitar, the same thing sort of applies. When you play softly with your fingers, you get this really beautiful fat low end. Have a listen. So there's a little bit of an unevenness. Down, down, down. And of course, Peter's saying what we're talking about here. See, I'm telling you. Peter, you could be me. You could take a couple of these. Actually, I'm being serious. That could be kind of cool. So there's a little bit of that sort of build up. Now, two things. Firstly, there's not a schnizzle ton you can do about it in reality, because it's inherently in the recording. I also think it's pleasing. It is actually pleasing. It's smooth, it's soft. Hear this kind of like warm, inviting acoustic. It's one of the things I love about this song and I like about this mix. However, this could be one of those situations where if you do, I'm not saying you have to buy it, but if you do have Oak Sound Soothe 2, the latest one, and we've had this conversation, by the way, we don't get any what's the word? And there's no affiliate link when you buy their plugin. We just stand behind it. We really like it. But anyway, to cut a long story short, when going down to that sort of 150 to 350 area, because it's going to move depending on the note, of course. It's not the same. This is one of the problems with static EQ, is if you went in there and kind of tried to pull out like 150 or 200 area, if you did that, sometimes it would sound fantastic, and other times it would ruin some of the higher notes that liked that low build-up. So you're going to need something intelligent in that area. You're going to need something that moves with the low-end frequencies. And it's tough, because if you listen here, so dynamic on the performance. Dum, ba, dum, dum. On that note there, for instance, there's a build-up of low end, but there's actually no articulation of dum, da, dum, dum. You don't hear the snappy kind of stuff. So you've got to be super, super careful. You know,
jagged metronome of typewriter keys. A simple thought brings you to me, and I'm thankful every day.
so for the most part, it works really well with that, like really well. But when we get here,
I'll write to you with ink from a pen. Feel the weight as the words sink in. My mind moves too fast for my hand. I need to tell you this while I still can.
yeah, so we're talking subtlety. That's why I think it needs to be done with an intelligent plugin. Because the thing is, if you, and trust me, excuse me, excuse me, I'm not a fan of multiband compression. Anybody that's ever, and I'm not even really a fan of dynamic EQs. But this is the exact instance why you would use it, because you would use it for just build up in certain areas, because this is a pretty fantastic mix. It's actually a really good mix. If we could just control lightly that sort of build up, everything will come to life. It will create more room for stuff. It's subtle. It's not a huge thing. I don't want you to get in there and like remove all of the low end out of the acoustic. I'm just like where it starts to build up a little bit, just control it. And then these areas will just open up beautifully.
I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way. I'm so glad I found you the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic mix with really just those subtle things. Thanks to everybody who's so supportive, and thanks Peter for like having great ears as well, and everybody else that has great ears and really kind of comes in here. I really like the vocal treatment a lot. I don't really want to change much about it. Like an obvious thing to do would be to say more oomph on the kick. Doesn't make sense in this song, does it? We don't need a subbiness to the kick. I think that this is very, very well mixed. It's just that that build up in the low end, which is essentially because I can't remember how many acoustics. Is it 3? I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but the point is like that's hugely driving the song. Absolutely wonderful. Great, great work. All right, Matthew, thank you, and thanks everyone for helping there. We have Dimitri and Di Mitra. And it says, this time I'm glad to share my remix of the song Sliding Doors performed by Chloe. With this remix, I participated in the Sliding Doors 2021 competition. After the Chloe Blackout competition, I was delighted to take a new challenge again, and I really like it. This is a new, bold, and crazy experiment. In my remix, I decided to combine and mix several styles at once. Why not? Feelings and emotions from the song Sliding Doors require self-expression and splash. Nicely said. That's why I got the idea to make this remix emotional and energetic. And I mixed not only the styles, but I also mixed several musical eras, 80s, 90s, and 2000s plus. The whole song was recorded and mixed completely in the box. I hope you like it, and it would be very glad to hear your opinion about my song, mixing nuances, and overall constructive review. Lovely. Let's check it out.
There you are, the helmet door. The
Very cool. So I really like it. Two things. Like when it first starts off, it's super, super exciting. Like just listen here.
There you are. You held me,
Love this verse here.
you held me through. No one's ever been able to stop me in my tracks before. You're a beast, a wild animal. You're like the ghost that follows me wherever I go. You're the music burning down deep in my soul. You move me, and you leave. Then we're back to the start now.
So the reason why, so I'm going to play this part here again. So this is where the chorus comes in. Have a listen to the chorus.
Then we're back to the start now. It's been a hard, the roads are shifting, our worlds apart.
Now let's play this intro. So the reason why I'm playing those two things, I really like this. I just think it needs to be mixed differently. So I love the hot, heavy guitars here, like loud guitars. That's amazing. So John's saying it needs more dynamics. Yeah. What happens here when the chorus comes in is that the key or the bass sound, it sounds like it's a programmed bass sound. But anyway, it tends to take over the center. And then these really exciting sides, which we have early on here. That high mid kind of like, yeah. You know, I really, really like that. And then I come here.
Then we're back to the start now. It's been a hard, the roads are
And I get the umda kind of like bass line there. But the thing is, it's sucking up so much of the middle that I'm missing that kind of like really crazy guitars, which are more exciting because they're high mids. So I think there's something's got to happen in the center here. You know what I mean?
Then we're back to the start now. It's been a hard, the roads are shifting, our worlds apart.
It's just crowded in the middle. Somebody's saying there's a lot of bass compression. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of bass compression, but I think that, I don't disagree with that, but I still think that, you know, something in that middle has got to change.
Then we're back to the start now. It's been a hard, the roads are shifting, our worlds apart.
It feels very cluttered in like the low mids, like here with this kind of, and low end with the synth going dum, 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 kind of. It feels like an octave. It's tough to tell because it's like such a lot of build up in there. What I really want is I want that to come down, and then I want the hair of the guitars to come up around it, so it just feels like it more exciting. Because, you know, the high mids of the guitars are exciting. That's where our ears are most sensitive. And it lacks that jumping out excitement. I think this is a remix. It's not, remixing your mix. You know what I mean? I think all the parts are there. I just think you need it to be super exciting in there. I also feel like, I don't know about everybody else, I don't see anybody else commenting on it, but I feel like the snare just needs to be more aggressive. You know, I think your 9 Inch Nails thing, I think you want to doing, you want to have a ring on it.
You held me through.
You could get away with it here, that with the reverb.
You held me through. No one's ever been able to stop me on my tracks before. You're a beast, a wild animal, and all the lying that you sing.
You can get away with it there. And that needs that needs to be super exciting, like ride it up so it rips your head off. It just sounds like it goes. I want it to go. You know what I mean? It's like, give me a yeah. So that low synth going there, the kick and the snare and stuff, it just becomes a blob of like low mids. I want that snare to be, I would go 9 Inch Nails ringing snare, saturated ringing snare. Bring up the guitars, figure out like getting that bass to just sit a little bit more in there. You know.
Then we're back to the start. Now we're splitting our heart. The roads are shifting, our worlds apart. We've been here before through the exciting.
And the low end on the bass just covers any semblance of the kick. So I'm not sure. It's like the bass is sort of taking over there, really. That bass down the middle is like taking over the kick drum. It's taking a lot of the energy away from the guitar. So it really needs to be tamed. A more aggressive snare sound just in the choruses would be amazing. But I think all of the elements are there. And hey, for a remix, it was pretty darn fantastic. And very angular and different. And that's what I love about a lot of those remixes. All right. Well, I think the next mixing competition we're going to do is going to be just mixing, because we've been doing a lot of remixes recently, which is fantastic because we're encouraging production, but we're going to do a mixing. All right, last but no means least is Trevor Noakes. We'll also do a year membership giveaway. Okay. What do we want to know? We talked about what people... Let's do one we've done many times before. Sorry, I've done this one many times before. But what are you recording on? Do you use a DAW? If so, what DAW is it? Do you still record on 4-track cassette? Then tell us what it is. Are you only doing memo recordings at the moment? Are you doing 2-inch or 1-inch 24 or 16-track tape recordings? Are you using hard disk? What are you recording on? Just let us know. We'd love to know. There's no wrong answer. They're all right answers. Let us know what it is. Please hit the like button. I would really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. Join us. And Eric is going to choose somebody and you'll get a year's membership. And if you haven't already, please join us in the Academy. Hit subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. All right, Trevor Noakes says, this is my mix of the cover of Let Me Entertain You by Mark Martel. It's the first time I've ever used the mix bus to attempt the dark art of mastering. Certainly not a professional level, just an amateur here. Any feedback would be appreciated so I can better understand the process. Marvelous. Okay, here we are. Last but no means least is Trevor Noakes with Let Me Entertain You.
All right, let's get it. Let's go. Come on. Hey, it's a setup. Yeah. Let me welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say hello. Are you ready for some entertainment? Are you ready for a show? Gonna rock, gonna roll ya, get you dancing in the house. Jazz you, razzle, dazzle you with a little bit of style. So come on, let me entertain you. Let me entertain you. Let me entertain you. Let me entertain you. I've come here to sell you my body. I can show you some good merchandise. I'll pull you and I'll pill you. I'll thrill and avail you. To thrill you, I'll use any device. We'll give you crazy performance. We'll give you grounds for divorce. We'll give you blister resistance and a total force. Of course. We found the right location, got a lot of pretty lights, the sound and amplification. Listen, yeah, if you need a fix, if you want to hide, Stickles will see to that. With Electra and EMI, we'll show you where it's at. So come on, let me entertain you. Let me entertain you. Let me entertain you. Let me entertain you.
remember that. And I remember that. It's the hair.
It's the hair. Oh my goodness. It's the hair.
There he is, the man, the myth, the legend. Look at the hair. It's the lizard. He's back to the lizard. There's no more Kim Jong-il or whatever it was.
Oh my goodness. It's the hair.
I think the general thing, and a few people touched on it, is just dominated by bass guitar. And don't get me wrong, we all love Tony Franklin. He's an insane bass player, but it is definitely dominated by it. I mean, I don't know if we're really going to get in there much. I mean, why don't we put the money where our mouth is? We're not going to be able to do much on a mastering situation, but hopefully it doesn't crash. But let's come in around about here.
Let me welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say hello. Are you ready for some entertainment? Are you ready for a show? Gonna rock, gonna roll ya, get you dancing in the aisle. Get jazz, you razzle you with a little bit of style. So come on, let me enter.
So, let me just turn these all off. We don't need to do any of that.
Let me welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say hello.
So you can see there, I've gone pretty drastic. I'll split the difference, but I'm just hitting like the bass at about 150, 200 in that middle of that area.
Let me welcome you, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say hello. Are you ready for some entertainment? Are you ready for a show?
The guitars are coming back to life. You can actually hear the thump of the kick drum. Yeah, the guitars come to life. Like I just said a second ago, the lows on the kick drum are breathing a lot more. And we're really, the bass you can still hear, but we're targeting that 150 to 200 area. I mean, I'm at 180, but it's generally there. The reason why I say that is because obviously it moves around depending on what note he is. That's why, frankly, dynamic and intelligent EQs like this become great for problem solving, because you can't just dip one area and hope for the best. You've got to be able to move with the notes. Just so you know, all of this is turned off. Even though you can see what it would do, they are all turned off. No, I just went to 300. It doesn't work. No, it's definitely in that 150 to 200 area. It's just like super, super dominated. And the great thing is it allows the guitars to breathe as well, because it's smothering the low end on the guitars in that area. It's a tough one. Soothe is not a cheap plugin. Yes, it was $50, the whole world would own it, but they're a small company. They've only got a couple of products. I spoke to them about, getting a discount for Academy members, and they were just like, we can't. We don't, we're just a few guys, guys and girls, and we're doing the best we can. And obviously, it's a plugin loved by everybody, and I don't think they need to, I don't think they need to heavily discount something that they've got invested a lot of time and energy in. I mean, the bottom line is it doesn't matter who you're watching on YouTube talking about it. This is a pretty interchangeable plugin. Almost everybody loves this plugin. And I've been interviewing people for 4 years since they brought this out. And whenever I ask them for their top 5 plugins, it's about 75% certain that this will be in most people's top 5 plugins. And again, I do not make an affiliate. I'm not getting paid. I'm just telling you it's a really good plugin. So that's really the main thing for me. Just leave it on and keep listening.
Just take a look at the menu.
Pete, I turned them all off. They're all turned off. You see here, that's on. I just turned it on. Now it's off. So it's not processing the high end. If you listen.
Just take a look at the menu.
Aha, we are getting extra. Anyway, I think honestly, it's such a wonderful, wonderful plugin. Highly, 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 highly recommend it. So getting back to the mix, yeah, it's an interesting one. You know, some of the times we talk about this when we're talking about mixes and stuff, that it's not worth judging the rest of the mix until you solve the global issue. And the global issue is definitely that low end. If you can control that, it will open up the rest of the mix. And until you do that, it's really foolish to think about how everything else will be affected. Wow, what a wonderful week. Congratulations to everybody. Who won the last giveaway?
The last giveaway winner was Chappie.
Chappie?
Lockdown Band 1, Chappie, with Studio One.
Studio One? Lovely. We have lots of Studio One members. Thank you, everyone. You all absolutely rock. Wow, that is 2.5 hours. Pretty marathon. I mean, we've had a couple of 3-hour ones. We once had a 7-hour live chat because what happened? It was because everything went down and it was a private call for just Academy members. And so I ended up going and catching my friend's next door neighbor's Wi-Fi and sitting and doing the live chat. That was so funny. Marvelous. You all rock. Thank you. It's so wonderful to see you all here. Please, on your way out, if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button. Congratulations to everybody who won. If you're not an Academy member, Eric's going to put a link up now. Join us. It'd be lovely to see you in there. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, adio, goodbye, farewell. Do I do it from